Hello and welcome to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast. We are breaking down chapter 1133 today, and the title is, well, there isn't one, but if there was, it should just be Tears.
It was an emotional one, a moment we've been anticipating for a very, very long time.
I am not okay. I'm just going to say it right now. We finally got it. The reunion, Robin and Saul. I cried. I'm not even hiding it. I was a mess reading this. From the very first moment to the very last, it was just an absolute emotional roller coaster.
It was the culmination of a 2-decade-long journey, both for her and for us following the story. The weight of that moment was immense. Every moment felt heavy with history.
It was everything. Okay, let's back up. We gotta go through everything that happened from the top because every single piece of it builds to that final incredible scene. I feel like I need to take a deep breath before we even start. Whew, okay.
Let's start at the beginning, or rather, a beginning. It starts with a look back at the immediate aftermath of Ohara.
And it is just disgusting. Spandine, that rat, is giving a statement to the press, acting all sad about the destruction. The nerve of this guy, standing in front of the ruins of a civilization he ordered annihilated and playing the victim for the cameras. He is Spandam's father, all right. The cowardly evil doesn't fall far from the tree.
It's a masterclass in government propaganda. He frames the Buster Call not as an act of aggression, but a necessary, tragic response to a threat. He paints the scholars of Ohara as villains trying to resurrect ancient weapons and destroy the world, the same lie they still use today.
And then he has the absolute gall to blame the evacuation ship's destruction on an 8-year-old Robin. He points to this tiny little girl and tells the whole world she's a monster who blew up a ship full of her own people.
He calls her a demon. It's the birth of the demon child moniker. The world government crafts a perfect narrative to hide their atrocity. They claim the full story would traumatize children, so instead they traumatize one child for the rest of her life. The irony is so thick it's suffocating. They commit an unspeakable war crime and then create a scapegoat out of their most vulnerable survivor to maintain their image of justice.
Are you kidding me? They created a global boogeyman out of a little girl who just lost everyone she ever loved. They put a 79 million belly bounty on her head and told the world to hunt her down. That's pure evil. It's not just killing people, it's erasing them and then desecrating their memory by turning one of their children into the villain of the story. It makes my blood boil.
And we see the immediate horrific effect it had. Then we see a montage of her early years on the run. People everywhere, from pirates to civilians, either hunted her for the money or genuinely believed she was a monster to be destroyed. She couldn't trust anyone. Every kind face could be a mask. Every helping hand could be a trap.
That image of her standing on the cliff edge, about to jump, I lost it. It just recontextualizes her entire journey. We knew it was bad, but seeing that raw, silent desperation, to be 8, 9, 10 years old and to have the entire world be your enemy to the point where ending it all feels like the only escape, man, that is a darkness we haven't truly seen from her before.
It puts her behavior in Alabasta and even with the Straw Hats into such sharp focus. Her willingness to die, her immediate assumption that she would be betrayed. It wasn't just cynicism, it was a survival mechanism born from this moment. The world had shown her, unequivocally, that it did not want her in it.
But she didn't jump. She remembered what her mother and Saul told her, to live, to find friends who will protect her. That image of Olivia's and Saul's smiling faces in her memory, that was the lifeline.
She held on to those words. For 20 years of running and betrayal and loneliness, she held on. Saul told her the sea is vast. Somewhere out there you'll find friends who will protect you. And she took that as gospel, not as a hope, but as an instruction, a final order from a man she loved.
That is just unbelievable strength. It makes her cry of "I want to live" at Enies Lobby hit 1,000 times harder now. That wasn't the first time she had to make that choice. She had been making that choice every single day for 20 years, ever since she stood on that cliff. Enies Lobby was just the first time she had friends to shout it to.
It was the foundation she built her entire survival on, and seeing it laid so bare here, it's a heavy start to the story, but a necessary one to set the stage for what comes later.
Absolutely. And then, bam, we're into present day and the hype train is leaving the station. We're at Elbaph.
And Elbaph is magnificent, a port built into the side of the giant tree with sea clouds for the ships to sail on. It's a perfect blend of nature and arcane, giant-sized technology. It has Skypian elements with a distinct Norse architectural style.
Luffy's group comes down on a mist ship. Lilith is geeking out over all the tech, and then the whole crew is finally back together. The reunion is on. It felt so good to see them all in one place again after the chaos of Egghead splitting everyone up.
It was a small, wonderful moment. Nami immediately complimenting Robin's new haircut, Sanji going full heart eyes for her. It's so normal, so grounding after the intensity of Egghead in that flashback. It's these little character interactions that make the Straw Hats feel like a real family.
That's our crew. And then, yes, the new giant warrior pirates. Hajrudin is there. They made it. I was so pumped to see him again. He looks so much more confident, like a true captain.
He has every right to be. He's the one who reformed the crew after Dory and Brogy's century-long duel had left it dormant. He carries a heavy legacy.
Luffy reacquaints himself with them, and we see Road, the one who tried to sell them out to Big Mom's crew, crucified as punishment.
Whoa, yeah, that was intense. Giant justice is no joke. It's a stark reminder that while the giants can be jolly, they are also a warrior race with a very strict code of honor. Betrayal is the highest crime.
You're not kidding, but Hajrudin is so happy to see Luffy. He tells him everyone was thrilled to hear he took down Big Mom. The whole island of Elbaph sees him as a hero.
Of course they were. Luffy is the man who re-established their legendary crew and helped them escape Big Mom's control. We have to remember their history with her. The broken political marriage with Prince Loki and Lola, the death of their elder warrior Jorel. Big Mom has been a blight on Elbaph for decades. For Luffy to be the one to finally take her down, to them, he's more than a hero. He's a figure of prophecy almost.
He really is. Luffy, of course, just wants to get to the feast. Typical Luffy. He hears party for a Yonko and his brain just shuts off everything else. But then Robin steps in.
And this is the moment the story's focus shifts entirely. Her voice cuts through all the celebration and noise. She tells Luffy, I want to see him first.
And Luffy just gets it. The whole crew gets it. No hesitation. Nami, Usopp, Sanji, Chopper, Brook, they're all in. Sanji immediately goes from feast to, of course, Robin Chuan, your wish is my command. Nami is already asking for directions. It's instantaneous. Let's go meet this Saul guy. The feast can wait. This is more important.
They understand the weight of this for her. It's not just a reunion, it's closing a circle that's been open her entire life. It's validating the very words that kept her alive. The crew that Saul promised her would exist is now the crew that is taking her to see him. The poetry of that is just beautiful.
So, with Gerd, the old giantess from Big Mom's flashback, as their guide, they head off. And on the way, we get the confirmation. He survived. He's really here.
And we find out he's Elbaph's history professor. Of course he is. He's at the Owl Library in a place called Warrior Springs. He's carrying on Ohara's legacy. He's not just protecting the books, he's teaching from them. The will of Ohara is not a secret to be hoarded, it's knowledge to be shared.
It's the most fitting role for him. He's not just a warrior, he's a scholar, preserving the knowledge he fought to save. Professor Clover would be so proud.
They finally arrive at Warrior Springs, but it's strange. It just looks like a beach. It's beautiful, but not what I expected for a library.
So they landed this place, and it's a beach near the springs. And then some giant comes running out screaming that Saul has fallen and can't get up.
The crew immediately gets annoyed. Usopp is shouting, "Are you serious?" Sanji is angry. We came all this way to fetch him? They're ready to march over there and drag him to Robin.
My heart dropped for a second, man. I was like, no way. Please, Oda, don't do this. Not after everything. You can't tell us he's alive and then have him be incapacitated or dying. My anxiety was through the roof for that one moment. But Robin, she just has this tiny, knowing smile.
She knows him. She doesn't need to hear his laugh or anything. She just knows. She isn't worried at all. She knows his heart.
Did a she. He was just faking. He was lying down on the ground trying to play a prank. He was trying to surprise her with a joke because he didn't know what to say. That is so perfectly Saul. He probably spent days, weeks thinking about what he would say if he ever saw her again, and in the moment, his brain just short-circuited and went for the dumbest possible joke.
How do you even begin a conversation after all these years of thinking the other person was dead, or, in his case, knowing the horrors she was going through from the newspapers? He defaulted to what he knew, being a big, lovable goof.
It fell completely flat, but it was perfect. He pops up, this massive giant, and he sees her. He just freezes, and then he picks her up so gently, brings her close to his face, and then he says it. You look just like Olvia now.
And you see it on Robin's face. That one line validates everything. It connects her to her mother, her home, her past, all at once. It's not Demon Child or Miss All Sunday. It's you are Olvia's daughter. It's the kindest possible thing he could have said.
It's so good. Then Saul asks if she heard Vegapunk's message, calling it O'Hara's legacy. He's so proud. He's bursting to talk about it, about how their sacrifice wasn't in vain. But Robin just looks at the scars on his face and asks if they hurt.
It's such a simple, caring question. In the face of all this grand history and legacy, her focus is entirely on him, on his pain. After 20 years of being hunted and hurt, her first instinct is to show concern for someone else's scars. That's our Robin.
And his survival story, that's insane. He says he was frozen solid, but the fires of the Buster Call melted the ice and he just fell into the ocean. The thing that was meant to destroy him is what saved him.
This feels like concrete confirmation for me. I've always suspected Kuzin had a hand in his survival. This isn't a coincidence. He didn't just freeze him to stop him. He must have frozen him to protect him from the flames, positioning him in a way that the fire would eventually save him. It had to have been a calculated move.
Aokiji's lazy justice has always been more complicated than it looks. He absolutely saved him. He let Robin escape, and he ensured the man who inspired her to live also survived. He gave O'Hara's will a chance to survive in 2 different forms. That guy? What is his endgame? I have to know.
Saul then says he was so furious when he read the lies the government printed about her. He saw the Demon Child posters. He starts to get angry all over again, clenching his fists, talking about the world government. But Robin stops him.
And this is the line that it floored me. She puts a hand on his finger, which is like the whole body, and she says she doesn't want to talk about the dark stuff. She just says, praise me for being alive.
It's all she's ever wanted. Not pity, not revenge, not a deep discussion about the trauma, just for someone from her home, someone who truly knew the little girl on O'Hara, to acknowledge the simple, monumental fact that she survived against all odds. It's a request for validation of her entire painful existence.
He understands immediately. All the anger melts away. He pulls her into a hug, tears streaming down his face, and he thanks her. He thanks her for making it all this way, for living. Thank you for being alive, Robin.
And she finally breaks. All the composure, all the walls she's built for decades, they just crumble. She reverts back to the 8-year-old girl who lost him on that burning shore. She's a child again in that moment, burying her face in his hand and just crying that she missed him.
This was it. This was the moment. Super! This is why One Piece is the greatest story ever told. This one moment of catharsis has been building for hundreds and hundreds of chapters, for 20 real-world years. The payoff is just, it's perfect. There's no other word for it.
And the rest of the crew are a wreck. They're watching from a distance, giving them their space, but they're completely overcome. Usopp, Nami, Chopper, Sanji, Brook, just openly weeping. Because they know. They were there at Eni's lobby. They fought the entire world for her. They know what this means. This is the why. This is why they declared war on the world government. This is the happy ending she deserved, the one they secured for her. And Luffy, he's not crying. He's just looking on with this huge, proud, toothy smile on his face. That's his Nakama. He fought for her to have this moment, and now she has it. His job is done. Even Zoro and Jinbei are moved. They're not crying, but you can tell they feel the weight of the moment. I could almost see a small, soft smile on Zoro's face. It's a perfect, perfect scene. The emotional payoff is just unparalleled. Her past and her present have finally merged, and she is finally completely whole.
I could talk about it all day. Whew, okay. I need to compose myself. Okay, before we get into predictions, Oda's author comment this week was about Pokemon Go.
It was. Apparently, there was an update where you can keep track of your friend's raids, and his editor was using it to see when he was playing instead of working.
That's hilarious. Even Oda-sensei isn't safe from his editor. A little bit of levity after all of that. Oda-sensei, I see you raiding for a Groudon. Get back to the manuscript.
A much-needed breath. So, looking ahead, what do you think happens in chapter 1134?
Okay, predictions. First, I think we're going to see Prince Loki. He's been talked about since Little Garden. He's the Prince of Elbaph. He has to show up at this giant feast for the new Yonko. It's time.
That seems very likely. A formal introduction.
Second, the other Grand Fleet captains are coming. They heard Luffy was on his way. Bartolomeo is absolutely going to show up unannounced and just have a complete meltdown when he sees Luffy and the crew. He's probably been tailing them since Wano.
The Straw Hat Grand Fleet reassembling in Elbaph would be a significant power move. It would officially announce Luffy's full strength as an emperor to the world.
My last one. We're going to get a friendly challenge. One of the giants is going to challenge Luffy to a test of strength. Maybe a sumo match, like we saw in Wano. A classic, prove your strength to us, warrior welcome. Luffy will happily accept, of course.
A respectful bout. I can see that. Okay, my turn.
Let's hear him, Lore Brain.
My first prediction is that we will see the Owl Library, and it won't just be the book Saul saved. I think he and the giants have created a living library where giant lore keepers have memorized the texts and passed them down through oral tradition, ensuring the knowledge can never be burned again.
Whoa, that's cool. A library of people. That's a super way to protect knowledge.
Second, I believe Saul and the giants will reveal they know something critical about the Void Century that even the scholars of Ohara didn't. Something passed down through their own history and long lifespans. Perhaps a detail about Joy Boy himself. The giants have a lifespan of 300 years. Their oral history could be far more intact than human records.
The giants were around back then, right? That makes total sense. They'd have stories no one else does. They might have met Joy Boy.
Exactly. And for my final prediction, I think we'll get a short flashback, but not of Ohara. It will be of Saul's journey after Ohara. How he survived at sea, badly burned and alone. How he gathered the books from the lake floor, and how he convinced the giants of Elbaph to help him protect Ohara's legacy.
Oh man, I would love to see that. To see him carrying all those waterlogged books from the lake, what a chapter that would be. The sheer will it would take.
A lot of threads are finally coming together on this island. The Void Century, the Giants, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, and now Robin's personal journey.
I can't wait to see what happens next. This is going to be an arc for the ages. Thank you all for listening to Inherited Dawn. We'll see you next time. Super.